Shalom everyone, I'm going to continue the series of the Yalkut Yosef, the Shabbat Halacha. At the moment we're learning, we're in the middle of the series at the moment, just here in a coffee shop. I like to go to different places when I'm doing these Halacha shirin, and we're getting underway. We're doing a new topic with regards to baking bread for Shabbat itself. So let's get into position here and let's take this underway. We are on Siman 274 at the moment. Fantastic achievement we guys are doing, and let's take this underway. Halacha Aleph. Minhag na'eh hu lekashet et shulchan HaShabbat b'prachim v'shoshanim ובמיני בשמים לכבוד שבת וכדי לברך עליהם ברכת הריח והשלים לימי הברכות בשבת. We know that naturally it's one of the practices on Shabbat, the Shabbat table which we put full of flowers with the gorgeous aromas, and to make the table look very nice, לכבוד Shabbat Kodesh, so we can smell the fragrances also. And also there's an important thing of doing Mea Brachot, 100 blessings every day. So we fill it on Shabbat because the Shemona Esrei is less. We need to complete the 100 blessings. So that's one of the reasons why we put the fragrances on the table, so we can do the bracha, the various brachot for smelling the fragrances. Halacha bet at the moment. Okay, now we're talking about smelling fragrances after Birkat Hamazon. Can you do that also? Maybe you did it before. אם בירך על הבשמים לפני הקידוש וחוזר להריח בהם אכל ברכת המזון, אינו חוזר לברך מאחר שיהיו לפניו, ואין ברכת המזון חשובה ההפסק אלא בענייני אכילה ושתייה. Okay, if someone recites the bracha already of fragrance substance at the table before the actual kiddush started, and after the meal he wants to smell again the fragrance again, he may not recite the bracha a second time. This is because the flowers or the herbs were present on the table throughout the meal. We've already seen it, it's been in front of us. The fact that he recited Birkat Hamazon is not considered an interruption to necessitate a new bracha over the fragrance. Although it does necessitate new blessings for anything he might want to eat or drink, it's not within regards to this actual bracha itself, or the fragrances itself. Myrtle branches. What's the connection with Shabbat? Yesh noagim lekachat shtei agudot hadasim or sha'ar besamim v'omrim zachor v'shamor b'dibur echad ne'emru. There's this custom to have two myrtle branches, two bundles of hadasim, you can call them, and recite the bracha of zachor v'shamor b'dibur echad within regards to the blessings within regards to this for Shabbat itself. Okay. So now we're talking about lechem mishnah, the idea of having two loaves of bread on the table when you can do kiddush. What's it? Tzarich livtzor b'Shabbat al shnei kikarot b'kol suda. Zecher leman shneema bo v'yi b'yom hashi laktu lechem mishnah. V'achar shivrei hamotzi yivtza min hakikar ha'atachton וכדי שלא יהיה קרבו על המצוות יניח הכיכר התחתון קרוב אליו יוצא מן העליון. וגם אנשים חייבות לבצוע על שני כיכרות כשאוכלת סעודת שבת לבדן. Okay. One must recite the blessing of Amotzi over two whole loaves of bread. This is called the Lechem Mishnah. This is to commemorate the extra miracle that occurred each Friday in the wilderness. That each Jewish person, we know naturally from Parshat B'Shalach, they received a double portion of manna to provide for Shabbat. And according actually to the Shulchan Aruch, one should grasp the two loaves on top of one another, holding them in both hands, and after reciting the bracha, he breaks the bottom loaf and eat a piece from it in order to conform with the rule never to pass over a mitzvah item in favor of another. He should hold the bottom loaf close to himself, then he does the top loaf. In fact, men and women are equally obligated in the mitzvah of Lechem Mishnah. If a woman eats alone, they must also fulfill the mitzvah and recite the blessing of Amotzi over the two loaves itself. Over here. Okay, so very interesting. I'll just tell you. ואחר שיברך המוציא יבצע מן הכיכר התחתון וכדי שלא יהיה קרבו על מצווה. יניח הכיכר התחתון קרוב אליו יוצא מן העליון. וגם אנשים חייבות לבצוע על שני כיכרות כשאוכלת סעודת שבת לבדן. 12 loaves. Some people will have 12 bread, challah rolls on Shabbat. Sounds nice to me, by the way. What's the practice with regards to this? Let's learn more about it. Halacha number 5. יש נוהגים על פי האריזל להניח על שולחן י"ב כיכרות קטנים לכל סעודה. 6 על גבי 6 כמין ניקוד סגול. ולוקחים 2 האמצעים ובצעים מאחד. ואפילו מי שאין לו יד בקבלה רשאי לנהוג כן, שדווקא בענייני כוונות וקטורת אינם אלא למי שמבין בקבלה, וכל מנהגו על פי הקבלה, אבל לשאר בני אדם יש לחוש בזה, ליהורה שחושב עצמו מקובל. There are those who fulfill the custom of the Arizal to place 12 loaves on the table for each meal. As follows, how does it go, this code of conduct? 6 loaves are laid out in the shape of 2 segolim, and another 6 loaves are placed on top of the first 6. When reciting the bracha of Hamotzi, one grasps the 2 upper middle loaves, and after the blessing breaks one of these 2. This practice is performed when Yom Tov coincides with Shabbat itself. Okay, so very interesting. Even someone who is not versed in Kabbalah, which the source of its custom is, may practice this custom. One need not understand all the deep meanings behind this practice in order for it to be permitted or to be performed. Over here, it is only the deep Kabbalistic meditations that a person must refrain from, unless he is fully fluent in their concepts and is known to conduct himself in all matters according to Kabbalistic practice. Okay. Let's just go back a little bit. ואפילו מי שאין לו יד בקבלה, רשאי לנהוג כן, שדווקא בענייני כוונות וכתומת, אינם אלא למי שמבין בקבלה, וכל מנהגיו על פי הקבלה, אבל לשאר בני אדם יש לחוש בזה, ליאורה שחושב עצמו מקובל. וגם בשבת, ביום טוב, יש לשדה י"ב כיכרות כנזכר. או קבע ידוע שאין אנו הולכים אחר הקבלה, אלא דברי הפוסקים הפשטניים. ורק בענייני תפילה וכתומת. אנו הולכים אחר הקבלה בדברים שיסודם בהרי קודש על פי המקובלים. פשוט שואל נשאל חטא. Okay. So we know that even someone who's not versed in Kabbalah may practice this custom. One doesn't need to know all the Kabbalistic meanings when they're doing something Kabbalistic, let's just say, in their concepts. It's well known that we conduct ourselves according to rulings of the Talmudic halachic authorities, and that we are following the teachings of the Kabbalistic regarding the prayer services and other such halachic areas only. Okay. So we're making good progress at the moment. Okay, now we are on Halacha 6, Vav. We're talking about whole loaves. You should have loaves that are total, they're in totality over here. That's what we're going to speak about here. It is best that the 2, okay. לכתחילה ליש להקפיד שלחמים יהיו שלמים לגמרי, ולכן לא יעשה את הטבעית הדבוקה בלחם אלא אחר בציאתו, כדי שהלחם יהיה שלם בשעת הברכה. It's best that the 2 loaves be absolutely whole. If the loaves have a sticker attached to them from the bakery, the sticker should not be removed until after the bracha of Hamotzi is recited, so that the loaves will remain as whole as possible until then. So it's important, the wholeness is. 2 half loaves, or 2 halves of a loaf. What's it? אם יש לו 2 חצאים של לחם, יקברם זה עם זה על ידי חתיכת עץ דקה שאינו מוקצה, כדי שיראה לחם שלם. ואם אין לו חתיכה עץ שאינו מוקצה, יקרבם זה לזה ויברך. If someone does not have 2 unbroken loaves over here, but he does have an entire loaf, that which has been broken or sliced in half, he can attach the 2 parts to each other with toothpicks or something else similar. That's not muksa over here. That's a code of conduct. What's it? That the loaf will appear to be whole. If one has nothing with which to attach the 2 halves, it is enough to hold the 2 halves together while reciting the blessing over the bread. Okay. Let's continue. Now we're talking about matzah. What's the din with matzah? You know, there's sometimes someone might not have a matzah, might not have bread, so they'll have to have matzah. What's the din? אם אין לו 2 לחמים ללחם משנה, יכול לצרף מצה שלמה ללחם משנה, ויקפיד שתהיה מצה שלמה ולא סדוקה, כולה לשמוע על ידי בצנה או שבורה. Okay, if one has only 1 loaf of bread, one may substitute a matzah as a second loaf. The matzah must be whole and unbroken, and not cracked so much that it is likely to break when handled. Okay. A frozen bread. What's the din with regards to frozen bread over here? כיכר לחם קפוא שהוציאו מטה הקפה של המקרר, אפשר לצרפו לכיכר לחם אחר, ללחם משנה. אם אין לו שני כיכרות לחם הראויים לאכילה מיד. Okay, a frozen loaf of bread may be used. Okay, I'm just going to speak a bit quicker because a bit louder because there's some noise in the place here. A frozen loaf of bread may be used as a second loaf for the mitzvah of lechem mishnah if one has no other bread to use. It is not necessary to wait until it's, let's say, defrosted in order to use it, but it's best that one keep the loaf at the table and extend the meal until the frozen loaf has, let's say, become unfrozen and is edible at this stage in time. It's preferable, however, that one borrow a loaf of bread from a neighbor just to recite the bracha of a motzi and then return it, if that's not difficult, rather than use one's own frozen loaf. Okay. ואין צריך להמתין עד שכיכר יבשלו מקופות. No. וטוב שיאריך בסעודתו עד כדי הבשרת הלחם והכפור, שלקראת סוף הסעודה יהיה ראוי לאכילה. ואם אפשר בנקל לשאול לחם הראוי לאכילה משכנו, הכי עדיף תפת. אף על פי שעליו לחסור הלחם לשכנו האחר שיברך עליו. Okay. ומוצע להניח לחם קפוא בתוך מגש ולהניחו על הפלטה החשמלית בשבת. אך קודם לכן יקפיד לנער את גושי הקרח שעל הלחם ויגנה מגבת. מכל מקום המחמיא תבוא על הברכה. It's allowed to place a frozen loaf of bread onto a tray and place the tray onto an electric warming tray on Shabbat. Before doing so, one should shake off any particles of ice or frost that are attached to the loaf. One who avoids making use of this leniency will receive a special bracha from heaven. Okay. Halacha 10. Yud at the moment. Loaf that was sliced into. We know in some of the shops, some of the some of the bakeries, you buy a loaf of bread and there's a slicing machine, and what if you sliced it? These slices good enough for a motzi or not? Let's find out. לחם חתוך, אם כשאוחז הפרוסה עולה כקיימה, חשיב לחם שלם לעניין לחם משנה. אבל אם הוא חתוך יותר באופן שכאשר אוחז הפרוסה, אין הכיכה עולה עמו. לחם פרוס מקרי, ואין יוצאים בו ידי חובת לחם משנה. Okay, if someone has sliced into a loaf of bread, but no part of the loaf has been cut away at this stage in time, the loaf may still be considered whole for the purpose of the mitzvah of lechem mishnah. This is only if the loaf will not fall apart if one holds it aloft by one end. Let's say if the bulk of loaf will fall off when one raises a smaller end, it is considered as if the loaf has already been separated into two parts and it is disqualified for use of lechem mishnah. Over here. Okay. ולכן, לחם פרוס אפילו אם הוא מונח כולו בתוך ניילון, אינו מצרף ללחם משנה. Okay, it goes without saying that a sliced loaf inside a plastic bag may not be used for the mitzvah of lechem mishnah. Women's obligation over here. Let's learn about this. גם הנשים חייבות בשלוש סעודות שבת ובלחם משנה. שאף הן היו בנס סמן. Also women are obligated within regards to the mitzvah of lechem mishnah. They were also part of the miracle of the man. וכל מעשה שבת איש ואישה שווים. Okay. ולכן צריכות לשמוע ברכת המוציא מפי בעל הבית. You've got to listen to the motzi tefillah from the mouth of the husband. ולכוון לצאת ידי חובת הברכה ולחם משנה. You've got to have the intention of the bracha and lechem mishnah from the husband. ומברך צריך להמתין להן עד שיתלו את ידיהן לסעודה. כדי להוציאן ידי חובת לחם משנה. One has got to have the clear kavana with regards to the bracha also. And it's also important that everyone washes their hands and takes a seat at the table so quickly so he can recite the bracha. 4 more short halachot here and then we'll take a breather for today. Or 5 more. Okay, sorry. Yud bet. גם ביום טוב צריך לבצוע על לחם משנה. Naturally on Yom Tov also you've got the mitzvah of lechem mishnah upon yourself. Yud Gimel. Lifting the loaves. You've got to lift it up or not? I think we all know the answer. קודם שיברך המוציא יתפוס את הלחם בידו. ולא יברך קודם שיתפוס הלחם. ייתן שתי ידות על הלחם בשעת הברכה. Before beginning the blessing of a motzi, naturally, one must grasp the bread and hold it up with both hands. Yud Dalet, can you wear gloves or not? What if it's a freezing cold day and you're eating in a courtyard? Imu lavush bekafafot b'yamei hakol. If someone is wearing gloves, it's the coldness, you've got to remove it at the time when you're doing the bracha of hamotzi. Aval mi sheish lo gebes al yadov, mutar lo libtzor al hapat, ve'en tzedek li'ten la'acham mipnei habayit shibtza lelechem. If someone's got a gebes, let's just say a bandage of some sort, then he doesn't have to remove it. He doesn't have to. He obviously hasn't got to take that over that, and it's also not necessary for him to give up on the mitzvah or doing the hamotzi in the house. He can keep it on and do it. There's no preference to give someone else without the bandage on to do it. Okay, halacha tetvav. Ein להתחיל לבצוע את הלחם עד שיסיים ברכת המוציא, כדי שתהיה הברכה על שתי כיכרות שלמות. One must not break the bread until one has completed the blessing of a motzi. The entire blessing must be recited over 2 unbroken loaves. Okay. Let's do the last halacha for today. In today's section, we are in Tet Zayin now. We're talking about the size of the slices over here. Mitzvah לבצוע פרוסה גדולה שתספיק לו לכל הסעודה. ואף שבחול אין לבצוע פרוסה גדולה שנראה כארבעתן ולא פרוסה קטנה פני שנראה קצר עין. בכל מקום שבת שני. Okay. When eating weekday meals, the halacha is that one should not serve oneself a very large piece from the loaf or over which the blessing of a motzi was recited, so that one not appear gluttonous. One should not serve small portions to the others at table, so it doesn't appear stingy also. When eating Shabbat meals, however, the halacha is that one should serve himself and others a portion of bread large enough to suffice throughout the meal. This is not to be viewed as gluttony. It's for the display and the honor of Shabbat over here. We want to show the honor, the dearness of Shabbat over here. So it's very important that we eat in abundance over here. So I think we're going to wrap it up over here today. Once again, this is Lulu Nishmat, Rabbi Leo, his wife, and his 2 daughters.